strategic plan to not issue out stimulus checks or issue out the unemployment that people are applying for? Because if they go back to work, then doesn't that cut them off from receiving any type of assistance with unemployment? Like, your opinion on that. Daryl, you can start.
Yeah, actually it does, and that's the thing. You know, when they first put the shelter in place, stay-at-home orders, people were automatically eligible for unemployment if they were affected. And those people in those same industries, with beauty salons, nail polish, a place like that. And so once the governor of Georgia reversed that, okay, that makes them ineligible because, you know, your basis for unemployment claims are generally based on whether, you know, you can't work or you know, your business is shut down, things like that. And the claim, you know, a claim for unemployment is based on not your ability to work, but the fact that you can't work. So when he says, okay, we're going to open these places back up, that means you're eligible to work, therefore you're ineligible to receive unemployment compensation. So it's definitely, you know, that there's a motive behind that.
Yeah. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I feel the same way Daryl do, like I just stated earlier. You know, I think that it's more about opening up the economy so we can get more of finances rolling, more so than anything. But if we're not healthy as a people, how can we get anything back rolling? You know, the number one issue should be us getting rid of this coronavirus, not us going back to work. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to realize we have not even reached our peak. If you look at the statistics from other places where it's been, overseas, France, Italy, as well as here in the United States, we haven't even reached our peak. And then this all brings us back to testing in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? There's probably not enough tests available for you to test the population of Georgia. And why would you want to actually open this back up and restart it again?
Yes,
I mean,
and
we start the cycle all over.
To expound on that, this is a thing, and you just brought it to my attention. To match the modestly high levels of coronavirus testing for which South Korea has been praised for, the U.S. would need to administer 7 million tests a week. And these facts are coming from the Wall Street Journal. That we'll be fortunate if we raise half of that number by September. And then to expound on that and to hear you guys' opinions about this, they raise a good question. And this is what it says. Okay, let me get to it. This is a conventional wisdom, and it has a critical flaw. We've taken for granted that our ingenuity can solve almost any problem. But what if, in this case, it can't? What if we can't scale up coronavirus testing as quickly as we need to? What if it takes us up to 6 to 12 months, guys, instead of 3, to identify an effective treatment for COVID? What if those who recover from the disease fail to gain immunity and therefore susceptible to getting reinfected? What if it takes us a year to develop a vaccine? What do you guys feel about me raising those questions? Because this is coming from the Wall Street Journal, and I think those are valid what ifs. So what, and if you need me to repeat any of those, guys, but I'm with this. What if it does take us 6 to 12 months?
Well,
I mean, if you
know, my opinion. I was just going to say, you know, it's whatever it takes. And if it takes 6 months, then so be it. I mean, Canada, and people are worried about the economy, or worried about, obviously people are worried about getting paid and working. But, you know, you have a place like Canada, from what I understand, they've halted mortgage payments. They have instituted a program where Canadians, I think, are collecting something like $980 a week, Well, every 2 weeks, something like that. I'm a little fuzzy on that. But the bottom line is the United States was the richest country in the world. There's plenty of money. They could sustain all of us for 6 months or a year. It may affect the economy, may slow it down, but would you rather have that as opposed to millions of people dying? And then my other view about that, and even and I think about it, and it makes me a little angry, is that the horse is already out of the barn, and it starts again with the federal government, who took an approach that the person in the White House initially said it was a hoax, downplayed it, played it off, made it into a joke, didn't do anything. He got rid of the pandemic team that President Obama started, and he did it, I think, out of spite, as he has done with a lot of things, and that is to deinstall, if you will, some of the programs that Obama created. And in the end, we're all suffering. If the states had gotten on top of this in the very beginning, no excuses, no, well, it's somebody's fault, we don't have this, we didn't have that, it's China's fault. If we got on this, and I have a loose kind of background with Center for Disease Control to the extent that I have represented at one point several employees with the Center for Disease Control, and one lady in particular I represented, she was involved with the pandemic, the teams. And what they would do is the United States at one point before Trump came in, they had CDC employees stationed in places like China, and their whole job was to, have the information, collect data, and then be able to address potential dangerous situations to this country. And because he got rid of those programs, it left us vulnerable. And so, like I said, I know the horse is out of the barn, and we got to think about what to do moving forward. But had we done the right things in the beginning, it wouldn't even probably been at this stage, not even close.
Right. I like that viewpoint. Thank you for that. How you want to expound on that and give your insight on this?
I think, everything that Gerald said, I think was correct. And, it's bigger than us. This thing here is bigger than us. It's going to change our lifestyle for the remaining of our life. It's going to have us thinking in different ways and what's going on. You can't believe anything that President Trump says. It's like he gives you a front door story, and then you come with another story, and then he comes around. And you see how he put our governor under the bus. Right. He threw him under the bus. He threw him under the bus. He doesn't care.
And then he's making it to where the mayor and the governor are on opposing sides. That's not good. You know what I mean?
Because
we're not on the same page in Georgia.
The mayor is representing her constituents. He's representing the state of Georgia. You know what I'm saying? So she's like, this doesn't work for us. I don't think this will work for me either. She's totally right. Keisha did what she thought was right, and he did what he thought would be the best way to open back up the economy. Because just look how high the unemployment rate is now. People are now starting to learn how to live virtually. It's almost like you're on Star Trek or something.
Well, hey, this is the wave of the future, and with that said, some people are, and if some people just stop resisting, and I think that may be what it is as well. When change occurs, some people are more flexible and open to change, where, you have some people that are very tech savvy, and then you have some people that are not very susceptible and open to doing everything FaceTime, with Zoom and working from home or doing something virtual, which now that's become a way we all even keep in touch with our families, with our friends. to prevent the spreading of this disease. So this is an interesting fact, and then this is coming from the Wall Street Journal, and then I want to hear from you guys on this because this is very interesting to say that most people who recover from the COVID develop antibodies to the virus, and these antibodies will confer protection from future reinfection. If more people gain immunity, the virus will have a harder time spreading, eventually dying out. But what if antibodies don't confer immunity, or if the protection doesn't last very long? This is very real and a possibility based on our experience with the other coronaviruses like the original SARS from 2003 and even a common cold. And the Wall Street Journal goes on to say the same issue we may have it's hard for biotech companies to develop an effective vaccine. Vaccines are hard enough to develop in normal circumstances. After decades of trying, we still don't have a vaccine against AIDS or hepatitis C. The fastest vaccine ever developed for a viral infection was the Ebola vaccine, which took 5 years. And yet, many commentators talk about developing a SARS/CoV/2 vaccine within the next 12 to 18 months. And that's not a piece of cake. So with me saying all that, what would you want to add on to that from those numbers and the months it took for a faster vaccine to just even conquer the Ebola vaccine? And this seems to be much, much stronger, which they're stating that it could take possibly up to 18 months just to create and develop this vaccine to assist individuals with the spreading. It's not easy. So what's your opinion on that? We'll start with you, House.
It's not easy, but, it's technology. I mean, now you have a different technology than you had when those viruses was out. They can do it faster, quicker, more, and figure it out. And it's all about time. Usually
right.
At one point in time it would take longer for them to find vaccines and different things. But now with the technology that you have all of these major colleges actually trying to put together a vaccine for it. They're doing a lot of the lab work. And then one of the other questions is once you get all these testings, once you get all these people tested here in Georgia, can the labs how can you produce the results? Can the labs produce the results in an efficient way? Can they put them back
right.
out as quick as they get them?
Correct. So, Mr. Hines, you want to expound on what House is saying and what I just discussed? Because that does raise an interesting viewpoint.
Well, the one thing about any vaccine, when scientists go into a lab to try to create or discover a vaccine, there are clinical trials and testing before they can approve that. The FDA normally has the oversight over that, but it takes usually months and sometimes years for a vaccine to be tested, to go through the clinical trials, and to test it to make sure, what are the side effects? What will it do? Sometimes, we listen to, you'll see a commercial on television about some medication, and they give you the side effects, and the side effects are worse than the disease or the problem that the person is dealing with. And, I think that there's no way they could have started to create a vaccine or started clinical trials before they were aware of the situation. But certainly to think that, a vaccine is going to be an overnight panacea, it's going to solve all the problems, that's going to cure this, is certainly being unrealistic. And so, not to say they shouldn't continue the efforts to discover a vaccine But the question is, and I think a lot of people, I even see